observed. Well, my name is Juwon Otelaja, and this afternoon I'll be making a presentation on behalf of Joff Pharmaceuticals. Joff Pharmaceuticals is the market authorization holder and exclusive distributor for topic cream range of dermocosmetics here in Nigeria. And it is a member of the Meoli Splendor group of companies in France, and the brand name of the company's products is Topic Cream. And you can see it there. Topic Cream started more or less as a love story. A father wanted to get a very good dermatological preparation that would take care of atopic dermatitis that his son had, and the son didn't want to use some other creams that were sticking on the child's body. So he gathered his pharmacist and told them, I want you to get something. And Topic Cream, the flagship of the company, Topic Cream Ultra Moisturizing Body Milk, was manufactured. And that has also given rise to a whole lot of the other products within the company's portfolio. Now, there has been a rigorous selection. They've ensured that utmost quality has been taken into cognizance in making these products. Yes, it is made in France, Paris, France, and it is made to EU CMP standard. There are standards there are cosmetic grades for dermatological preparations, for the active ingredients, also the European Pharmacopoeia and cosmetic grade. But Topic Cream went a step ahead for the two major ingredients in it, which is glycerin and urea, that gives it excellent moisturizing activity. And we say that Topic Cream helps in 24-hour hydration. Now, the flagship product of the company is the Ultra Moisturizing Body Milk. But before then, please scroll back. There are about 8 different categories of skin conditions that this company has invested in. The first one is the Ultra Moisturizing Body Milk, which is for cirrhosis, dry skin. There is also the Topic Cream DA Balm for atopic dermatitis and a whole lot of other atopic skin conditions. For severe cirrhosis, they have the Topic Cream UR10, which contains 10% urea. Of course, there is the Sika, which takes care of damaged skin. They also have, for acne-prone skin, also for hyperpigmentation, the Topic Cream Mela, SPF 50+ for sun protection, and Topic Cream PV DS for flaky and dandruff skin. But for today, I'll just mention 1 or 2 of them and close because of time. Like I said, the Topic Cream Ultra Moisturizing Body Milk is the #1 body milk in France in gross earnings, and it is our desire to make it the #1 in Nigeria because pharmacists made it happen in France, and that's why we believe that pharmacists in partnership with dermatologists will also make it happen here in Nigeria. I made a presentation last week at the Nigerian Association of Dermatology Conference, and we had a lot of buy-in into these products. Now, the Topic Cream Ultra Moisturizing Body Milk contains urea and glycerin working synergistically to ensure 24-hour hydration. And there are studies that have shown that even at T plus 24 hours, there is still about 33% remnant hydration in the skin. And this product helps a great deal in preventing transepidermal water loss. Now, for the Topic Cream DA Balm, it is very, very good for atopic skin. It contains allantoin, flax oil, which is also rich in omega-3 and 6, beeswax, and shea butter. And of course, with the glycerin that gives it the moisturizing action. And studies have shown that it also increases expression of filaggrin, which is a very good protein that strengthens the skin barrier. And I will not want to go into too much of but there are studies carried out by dermatologists that have shown the efficacy. There's also the Topic Cream oil, DA oil, that contains bisabolol instead of the allantoin that is in the balm, and it also contains shea oil and flax oil. These together work in tandem to give it a good feel in managing atopic dermatitis. There is the Topic Cream UR10 cream, which contains 10% urea. It has a very good keratolytic activity, and visual discoloration score reduces by about 70% within 1 week, which you can give a lot of patients with very scaly skin and crocodile-like skin, so to say. So the UR10 is an excellent product. It contains urea, 10%, and beeswax. 10% urea is usually very difficult to get in the market today, and I believe that this is one area of opportunity for pharmacists to latch on in taking care of our patients. Now, there is the Topic Cream Mela, which is majorly indicated for hyperpigmentation. For patients with hyperpigmentation, dark spots, and very embarrassing dark spots all over the body. The Topic Cream Mela contains a very good active ingredient, octadecinediaric acid, which inhibits the melanin transfer and reduces inherently inhibiting the synthesis of melanin, and the skin gets to lighten naturally. And it doesn't contain hydroquinones, which are very, very toxic to the skin and may lead to a whole lot of other conditions. In all, these products can be combined together with the ultra moisturizing body milk to give us a very, very good feel. The CCAD is there. It contains hyaluronic acid and some other agents that help in regenerating the skin. So what are we saying? On Monday, we had a session by Dr. Akikugbe, a consultant dermatologist, and she highlighted are the kind of products that we should stop using. But if we are going to create a vacuum, there should be some other products that we should be using. These products have been dermatologically tested, and they are very, very good. If we want to have product differentiation, market differentiation, and we want to increase our gross earnings, I believe using Topic Cream range is a very, very good buy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You were right on time. Do we have any questions for him? Okay, I guess he was a very good teacher then. Right now, it's time for our town hall meeting, but just before that, I would like us to, as many people as have not acquired this, should please go to the back and get a copy. It's just 1,000 naira, and it's just the summary of the proceedings of the 2018 National Summit, from where we had the transgenerational fallout, project fallout. Thank you very much. For the town hall meeting, I'd like to invite the chairman, pharmacist Olumide Akintayo, FPSN, FPC Farm, FNA Farm, FNIM. Please put your hands together for our own pharmacist Olumide Akintayo. To join him on the high table are the following panelists. You're welcome, sir. Farm Mohammed, FPSN, FPC Farm, FNIM, FNA Farm, the Registrar of PCN. Sorry, you want me to say them in Fuma? Okay. There's a representative, or sorry? He's coming, okay. Please put your hands together for his representative from PCN. Next, we have Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, the Fellow of Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, a Fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Pharmacy, the Director General of NAFDAC. Please put your hands together for her. Okay. Next, we have pharmacist Mazi Sam Huabua, Fellow Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, the President of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. Please put your hands together for him. What was it? Muniru Elelu. Okay. Pharmacist, I'd like to call on pharmacist Muniru Eleru, the the Vice President North for the representing, okay, Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. Please put your hands together for him. Last but not the least, I'd like to call on our very own pharmacist Samuel Adekola, Merit Award winner and national chairman of Acpn, to the high table. By himself, yes. Okay, I'd like to hand over to you, sir. Yes, we are. Do we have a representative from NAFDAC? Nobody. Okay.
Pain, Pemzol, paracetamol. Feel better, do better.
Nigeria, also well represented here. The distinguished national chairman, Acpn, fellows of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, Merit Award winners of the different state branches, colleague pharmacists, distinguished colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me specially welcome you to the 2019 Town Hall meeting of the Association of Community Pharmacists of Nigeria. I am sure you're all aware that the whole essence of a town hall meeting is to diffuse a lot of tension and reduce drastically the anticipated workload associated with the AGM, which we hold tomorrow. So the whole idea is that we want to reduce the business of AGM to only those things that a formal AGM can take decisions on, while as much as possible your major professional inquiries with the principal regulatory agencies in the drug distribution chain, notably NAFDAC and PCN, various issues that have to do to day-to-day practice with regards to the PSN, Acpn. These, amongst others, are supposed to be tackled at this town hall meeting. So the town hall meeting is usually a no-holds-barred session. As much as possible, we want to believe that colleagues will comport themselves decently and honorably because we are men of honor. I want to assure you with a sense of responsibility that at this end, we are very well tuned to tackle your inquiries, your questions, your clarifications. Even when there are differences, be rest assured that within the limits of common sense, we are adequately equipped to keep dancing even to the various spasmodic differentials that we might have, because at intellectual sessions of this nature, it is not unusual that we will disagree on certain things, but as much as possible, we must remain disagreeable. So on this note, let me declare the town hall meeting open, and I believe that we will have a very fruitful deliberation and session. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. I think all the panelists would want to say one or two things, and then we open the floor. So I think what we'll just do straight away, we have an array of distinguished panelists. I'll just give each of them some few minutes to come up with some welcome remarks. And after that, it becomes an open session where we can freely ventilate. The PSN president, who of course is #1 pharmacist in the Federation, is well represented by the Deputy President North, the Registrar of the Pharmacists Council, Elijah Mohammed, is also adequately represented by one of the most seasoned technocrats in organized pharmacy today, and that's the person of Ibrahim Ahmed Babasheu. Of course, the activist and very proactive national chairman of Acpn is here, seated. So I believe that we would have a very good session. So I think it's only proper to start from Mr. President of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, and with your kind permission, I'd like to invite Pharmacist Munir Elelu, Deputy President.
Hello. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I want to seize this opportunity to welcome all of you all to this session. And first of all, to congratulate the leadership of the Association of Community Pharmacists of Nigeria for a very wonderful and successful conference. Personally, this is the first of Acpn conference I am attending, and it's been one of the most successful conferences I've ever attended. I have picked a lot from here, though I came in my personal capacity as a retiree, just to observe and see what's happening in the Acpn landscape. I left community practice 25 years ago from this same ancient Kano city. Went into public service, and today I'm retired, though not tired. But I must say that I'm so impressed. The president was here 2 days ago, and he didn't particularly leave any message for this town hall meeting. So I'm going to step into the shoes, though it's a very big one, but I'm going to attempt to see how we can contribute meaningfully to this town hall meeting. And I think the Deputy President South, who is from your technical group, is she around? Okay, she's been around for a while, and I think she will come in. So if there's any need for her to also chip in, we're going to assist. She's going to assist in that. But I want to say that let's all have an open mind to this session. Let's look for ways to provide solutions to our problems. I don't see myself as me and others not being from Acpn, no. Let's take it as one pharmacy, because we all have one patient that we all strive as much as possible from all the technical groups to ensure that that patient gets the best of healthcare. Acpn is the largest membership technical group of PSN. And in a modest way, I have to say today that PSN wouldn't have achieved much without the full support of Acpn all these years. So kudos to Acpn. Whatever challenges we have today, it is normal because we are growing in numbers, ideas are coming in, and like we have in the team, innovative disruptions are happening. But let's look at the positive side of it. And let's look at how we can move with time and ensure that our practices here in Nigeria also conforms with the world best practices. So solutions, solutions, solutions to our challenges is the best. And I think in the last 2 days, we've had tons of solutions to most of these problems. It's only imperative on us to put all this together, put our heads together, and like they say, united we stand, divided we fall. But my own belief is, as time goes on, we will continue to work stronger. So you're welcome to this session. And I believe at the end of the day, we're going to have a fulfilling session. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So that we can make it business-like, I will plead that our remarks are short because we'll still, so that we can save enough time for the comprehensive ventilation session. So on this note, let me invite the Registrar of the Pharmacists Council, who is very well represented by Ahmed Ibrahim Babashew.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, the PSN President, our national chairman. I call him my chairman always, and he acknowledges that. Distinguished delegates, it is my pleasure to be here on behalf of the Registrar, Pharmacist Elijah Mohammed. I learned he has effectively engaged with the delegates since the opening ceremony. My job, I think, has been made easy or easier by that. However, I still stand here to represent him because PCN is ours. It is my prayer that at the end of the day, like the President said, we shall come out with resolutions and solutions to our problems rather than carrying them as a burden on us. And I believe that is what it would really have to be. I want to congratulate ACPN for a very successful program. Mr. Chairman, sir, God will continue to strengthen you and guide you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Registrar. I believe the National Chairman of ACPN, do you need to make any remark again? I believe they have seen that face repeatedly in the last 96 or so hours. And so I think we can just go on to the business of the day. And I think we want to tackle, first and foremost, matters related to the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria. I know that that's one particular area many of us have challenges with. And so if you're willing, if you want to ask questions, if you want to make inquiries, if there is a need for a clarification on anything pertaining to PCN, can I see your hands up, please? Please, you know, once we move away from any of the subject matters, we're not going to return to them. Okay. Since it does not appear we have too many hands, can I just request that all those of you who want to ask questions on PCN, please step forward so that one after the other you can have the mic. Only those who raise their hands, please. Only those who raise their hands. Please, let's have one straight line. That's fine. Can we have another mic for them? Yes, please, another mic. Please, Baba, welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Pharmacist.
Please, just before you start, I want to plead that it is only those who raise their hands, those who come. So I want to presume very strongly that there are just 7 of you. I will request that you make it very brief, very short, straight to the point.
Straight to the point.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is CJ Madneme, FPSN. So yesterday, during one of the plenary sections, somebody asked about the control of the patent medicine vendors. Why is it that they stock beyond their limit? One of the responses the registrar made was that PCN is not empowered to seize products from them. So we were taken aback. Maybe the representative will explain why, when we feel that the PCN has the absolute authority over drug-related matters and administration, why is it that our products are seized, our premises are sealed, but the patent medicine people don't do, they cannot collect their products or even instruct NAFDAC to do that? That's my worry.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am from Obika. I practice in Onitsha area of Anambra State. There's one question that has been bugging our minds, and I keep referring to it, that is the CWC program. I don't know whether to say that we are at crossroads there now, because up till now, we don't know how it stands because of the feuding parties. We have had issues of allegations here and there, and people or some groups not meeting up with PCN specifications and counterclaims. So my question now is, where do we go from here? The onus now lies on the PCN to give us a correct answer, because we are now going...
Let me understand that question again.
Yes, the issue of...
Where do we go from where?
The issue of crossroads.
Which crossroads? Sir?
In terms of CWC at the Onitsha area. Okay. CWC, yes.
You believe there is a crossroad in the Onitsha
area?
area?
Because now we have not landed.
Don't worry.
Yes.
You believe there is a crossroad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I
do.
do.
All right. PCN will tackle
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right, sir.
So because this issue has to do with transgenerational pharmacy practice.
I believe you have asked the question, sir.
Yes.
So you just wait for the answer.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and the House. Ismail Kola Sumono is my name. My question borders on the mandatory continuing education program, the MCPD. And really, my grouse with the MCPD is that too much emphasis to me appears to be on having pharmacists maybe either go online, to do the MCPD, or come to sit in an organized setting, where they pay 15,000 naira. I want to ask that if we do not want the purpose of MCPD to be defeated, the purpose should be to continually educate pharmacists. Now we have pharmacists who are in the West Africa Postgraduate College of Pharmacy. We have pharmacists running their master's program. We have pharmacists running PhD programs. And then they will still have to come
and pay 15,000 naira a year. We should, just like the our colleagues, the medical doctors do. What you need in a year is 20 points. You understand? And for every program you attend, the council, the NMA, their own council has a way of grading this thing. So if I come for a program, maybe a GSK, when PCN standardizes this thing, I know that this particular program will earn me 3 points. If I come for a conference of this nature, it will earn me 4 points. You understand? And I know that the most important thing for me to do is to continually educate myself. And at the end of the day, gather the minimum points for me to register the following year. It should not be that the council will keep insisting that after registering for my annual license, I register my premises, then I now pay, you understand, 15,000 naira per module. This is not fair. And I think the council should look at that. Give us avenues to educate ourselves, gather the points, and register. Thank you very much. Okay. Caller, let me understand it very well. Your grouse is that you believe it is not until you run through the conventional PCN. I'm emphasizing that it is not until we run through the conventional MCPD and pay 15,000 naira. I understand. So we'll give you all the.
Give us avenues to gather points, educate ourselves, and achieve the purpose.
All right.
Thank you.
I think I got it now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and the panelists. I have a few questions here for the council.
Few questions?
Yes, please.
How many are those questions?
Only 5.
No, you can ask 5.
Very, very straightforward, please. Yeah. Please, because 2 of them, I carried them over from yesterday.
Go on.
Yes, please. I said, number 1, what provisions of the law are available for the breaking of the seal of the council, the PCN
what
seal
provisions
of the law are available for the breaking of the seal of the council? When inspectors go for raids and they put a seal there and people go ahead, the traders, and they break it, what are the provisions of the law on that?
It's a criminal act.
Okay.
It's a criminal act that can only be dealt with by a court of law.
Okay. And we are seeing that it's becoming rampant. Number 2, how do we curb the menace of NAPMET doing a kind of pre-registration with fees? You know, before those people ever approaches council, these people have already registered them to go and begin to practice PPMV.
How do we do what?
How do we curb that menace? That they don't pre-register and tell them it's good for you to begin to run a shop before you get licensed.
Probably we'll start with curtailing our own members too.
Okay, please. That's just, and what's council doing? Then number 3, what is the new date? Straightforward. We have postponed again and again on open drug markets. What is the new date we are looking at now? Then number 4, over the months have had comments like, it's you community pharmacists that are not allowing council to register. Mr. Registrar, sir, I'm not sure you are hearing me. I said over the months we have had comments like, it's you community pharmacists that are not allowing council to allow hospital pharmacists, academic pharmacists, industrial pharmacists to register community pharmacy practices. And every time we have this encounter, normally it will become like a Georgia war. And of recent, I've had this recurrent story that, look, we are going to do all it takes to make sure that this time around, you can be gainfully engaged in the hospital or academia, and then you can practice community pharmacy. And with this, you begin to have some kind of shocks that what will happen to the terrain of community pharmacy practice. Humbly, sir, I want to know, what is the direction? I don't know whether the law that we're expecting, whether there's a provision to make sure that people can have a full-time job in the hospital or in the academia and still run community pharmacy doing an R&G approach. Please, we want to have some clarification on this. And the last one, sir, is on tax shifting. It's not really on tax shifting, it's on tiering. But one thing is that the last time Professor Ray spoke to us, and your humble self was there, somewhere in Lagos, I was convinced that we should allow it. But one thing that we have been saying is that when you allow that tiering, please do not expand the list. And that's one thing I want us to still maintain. And I feel that as community pharmacists, we should be able to say that, look, we acknowledge that within the space of PPM VLs, there are 3 categories of practitioners, but we are not going to extend the list. Because the moment you extend the list, it makes a mockery of what we do in the community pharmacy space. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me get it right. Biola, please, before you go. Are you saying, in essence, with regards to tiering, is there an agreement in principle that ACPN has adopted it? So that,
okay, no, I don't know that, but based on, of course, Mr. Registrar mentioned to us that, look, this thing can't even take off until the law has been passed. But if we go by the series of encounters some of us have had with developmental partners, and so many meetings we have sat in, we know that tiering it's likely going to sail through, based on what we have seen already. But what I'm maintaining is that if you categorize those practicing in that space, please don't open up the product range to them. So that's one area I feel we should look at.
Okay, please, just before you go on, ma, we need to be very careful. And I think that's the essence of a town hall meeting. There are 2 issues here. In principle, if you have not accepted or adopted the tiering policy, you can't be advocating, you can't be even talking about the list. The question of a list does not even arise because we have not even adopted the concept. Okay. If you ask me, the position of the ACPN should be very clear on a matter like this. It should be a prayer that Pharmacy Council Bill 2017 goes through. That bill already defines that cadre, and that's the law. Now, if it passes like I expect in a matter of days and weeks, then of course all the tiering nonsense was gone. Even the Federal Ministry of Health, the much that I know after a certain ACPN publication, the Federal Ministry of Health, the publicity, the media department actually came up to say, as a rejoinder, that it's not like the Federal Ministry is going ahead to implement it. They are still testing waters. So the AGM of tomorrow actually gives you a formal opportunity to take a position on that matter, which you must communicate officially to Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria.
Good afternoon.
Go on, ma.
I'm from Samira Abubakar Umar from Kaduna. I want to know from PCN our practices.
Please use the mic, ma.
As pharmacists retailing, our businesses are dying. The reason is because wholesalers retail too. So we don't know where we belong to, because a client will go to a wholesaler, pick medicines, come to you as a registered pharmacist for instruction or guide on how to use the medicines. Another client will come and tell you, I will go to the wholesaler and buy. The wholesaler will sell for them at the same rate we get from the wholesaler. So I don't know what PCN is doing about it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma.
Yes, my name is Pharmacist Aminu Absalam. I practice in Lagos. My question is, define the relationship between the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria and the Department of Food and Drug of the Federal Ministry. Why I ask this question is, sometimes we see a lot of documents from the Ministry of Health. That is, guidelines on the use of antiretrovirals, guidelines of malaria treatment, and so on and so forth. We don't get to see them. They are being used. and we feel the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria is the one bridging the gap between the practitioner and the Federal Ministry of Health. So I'm going to put it that it will be appreciated if all health documents are available like that. The pharmacists should be aware through the ministry. Again, too, the registrar yesterday also saw a document. He was putting it to the chairman and felt that chairman should look for it. But I feel that the council is our APA regulatory body, is the one responsible for our practice. Anything that has to do with our practice, I feel that we should have the adequate information from them. The other one is on the issue of our seal. Some years back, members were made to pay certain amount of money for a seal that will add value to the practice of pharmacy. But many of us have collected the seal, but they are still in the archive. We have not been able to see how we are going to make use of it. It will be also fine if we have an update on how we are going to be using this document. Then again, too, finally, on the issue of relationship, I was reading this national drug policy, and it was stated that pharmacists who wants to practice in rural area will be given incentive, and that is far back as 2005. Are we key into it? We are talking of we don't have pharmacists in rural areas, and the policy has given an indication that it's a possible way. Can we explore the issue of policy and see that pharmacists can go to rural areas? Because some of the statistics that are being given, sometimes they may not be very seriously tenable about the number of people who access contraceptive. Now, if you go to Lagos, we have so many pharmacies there. But if you go to Maiduguri, yes, if we go to Maiduguri, we may not see many of the pharmacies. We see many of these people dominating. So if you are going to have a national statistics, and you are basing it on the dichotomy of this availability of pharmacies, then our statistics may not be correct. So I will implore that we take advantage of such provisions and ensure that we take advantage of it. Thank you very much.
Pharmacist Aminu. Pharmacist Aminu. Can I also request this last inquiry or suggestion that you put something together for the communique desk on this particular one? I think it's a very important one. I was saying Pharmacist Aminu should put together a memo to the communique desk on that matter of rural pharmacy practice. Yes, go on.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. All protocol observed. I'm Pharmacist Maro Mume from Delta. In Delta State practice, the PPMVL, they have been complying in terms of registration with the PCN. Then, lately, now it's time for enforcement now. But the challenge we are having in Delta State is that most of the PPMVL, they're in the major towns. That is in Delta State, we have Warri, we have Asaba.
You are from Sapele or Warri?
Warri, sir. So,
you'll be Wafi boy.
So the challenge we are now having now is that does PCN has a list in all the states, 36 states in Nigeria, for this PPMVL to practice, since then they are made to fill on the gap which pharmacists cannot fill. So we won't see them in the urban areas.
I think what you're trying to say is you don't want to see PPMVL in the urban centers in Delta states.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And other states, sir.
Okay. All right. I think because you have so many questions, I want the representative of the registrar to begin to address them. As that's due, when necessary, I will also intervene.
I think we need that speaker so that when you need to intervene, I want to go over there, sir. Or I can stay here? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, sir. I also want to appreciate all the delegates who have asked questions. And also to put it that Indeed, for every of the questions we have, that I will attempt to provide answers. And I want to believe that those answers will, to a large extent, address the issues on the table. But before addressing the answers, it will also be appropriate, sir, to establish a foundation to some of the issues that bothers us most, so that as practitioners, we will appreciate them. Not only we will appreciate them, we will also appreciate it from the perspective of PCN. Not only will we also appreciate it from the perspective of PCN, we will also appreciate it that it's a collective issue. And we shouldn't be seen as an issue of one side against the other. I think let me start by establishing, first of all, because without that, many of the grievances we have, I think, will not be appropriately situated. And that is the issue of PPMV, particularly its regulation in Nigeria. The issue has always been, even before I joined Pharmacists Council, PCN does nothing about PPMVs. We have proliferations of PPMVs. PPMVs are above board. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we may not have taken time as people concerned on why we find ourselves where we find ourselves. I will attempt to give a brief recap so that we first of all appreciate what the issues are. And the issue is this. The law that created the PPMV came into life in 1936. The law, of course, empowered the Honorable Minister of Health, as it were, to be the authority that should grant authority to anybody that should issue this license. Well, it started with the pharmacy board then. In 1963, precisely, in the wisdom of the federal government, they suspended the issuance of license by anybody and was not given to anybody. Let's get that right. We can write it down. In 1964, the authority to grant licenses was restored to the pharmacy board. It continued between 1964 until 1978. In 1979, precisely, throughout the administration of Alhaji Usman Shehu Shagari, the authority to issue PPMV was removed from anybody and situated in the Federal Ministry of Health. That lasted throughout that administration under the Minister of Health then. I think it's one, Dr. Tafida Sarki. We had the military intervention in 1983. They left it where it was. And briefly, from 1985 or so, it was taken again from the Federal Ministry of Health down to the State Ministries of Health. And that lasted again till 1989. We had the most unfortunate situation in 1992 when, during Professor Oliko Ransom Kuti, he even decided to delegate the authority to 774 local governments. Why I want us to appreciate where we are coming from. Even if it were to be one's child, a child that you have lost to crisis, getting them back will be a very big challenge. These are windows of opportunity that have given these people some strength. You realize that throughout this period, it was, if I can say, an opportunity for the PPMVs to grow beyond the net of regulation. Because virtually all this group of people that these licenses were given to were, of course, not regulators. It didn't stop there. Because I think the story now is 1993. After that, again, because the impression has been between 1936 and today, Pharmacists Council has not done anything. We need to know the storyline. We need to know what the PCN or the pharmacy profession has suffered in the regulation of PPMV, which of course is not by their making, which of course has made things extremely difficult. Now, we had that situation, it continued, up until again 2003, when in the wisdom of Professor Itai Olambo, he decided to bring it back to the Pharmacy Council. Between 2003 and today, we need to look back. It's just like trying to look at the democracy of Nigeria and comparing our democratic development with countries who have had consistent and stable democracy, let's say between the time of our independence, 1960 and date. We've had democracy truncated, the military came in, they bastardized the situation, we came back, they came in. That is the story of the PPMV. Now, let us also appreciate it. Because unless and until we appreciate the problem, we will not be able to situate and appreciate and understand that this is a collective problem. When we took over in 2003, finally, between 2003 and date, precisely I think it's just about 16 years, that is the longest we have ever had stable regulation of PPMVs in this country between 1936 and today. Now, it's still not a stable one, because up until 2017, December precisely, we had that it will be difficult for any government ministry, not just an agency, to survive such a crisis. We had a minimum of 51 court cases in different locations of this country where we were going to, because these people had posed resistance. They had enjoyed freedom, and they have seen a situation where something is coming to put them together. It took the glory of God and the current sanity we have in judiciary to have helped us to overcome all these cases by 31st December 2017. But the sad aspect of it, I also need to state, so that we also appreciate that some of these court cases were civil litigations. And to us, there were things that were bearable. But the most dangerous of them were four. One in Akure, one in Kaduna, one in Yola, and one in Benin. These were cases of injunctions granted by competent courts with competent jurisdiction, where authority was given, judgment was given to the effect that these people should not be regulated. Injunction was given that these people should enjoy freedom from regulation. Not even the president of the country can break that, not to talk of the Pharmacists Council. The worst of it was in Kaduna. The injunction lasted for between 10 and 12 years. This was a window of opportunity where not even the Ministry of Health, either at state or the federal, or even the local government, had the privilege to regulate these people. It was entirely the NAPMED executives that were doing the game. Now, to the glory of God, I want to state that as at 2014, the database of licensed PPMV in this country was just about 21,000. Today, because they have lost virtually all, in fact, not only have they lost, we have also taken the bold initiative in states like Delta, where we undertook enforcement. Those who prove very stubborn, we lock them up. Because the police and the courts have seen that we are now on the side of the law. Now, let me also make us appreciate further. And also, as bad as it is, appreciate the Federal Minister of Health. When we came up to do what we call, for me, it was not just a review of the Pharmacy Act. I would want to use the word of the lawyers. It was a reformation of the Pharmacy Council bill. Today, in the course of reviewing that bill or reforming that bill, we sort of attempt to repeal that law that created the PPMV and brought it entirely into the body of the PCN law. We expected that the Honorable Minister of Health would fight against it because we were taking authority from him. Indeed, when we presented our request about that bill to him, he called us to the top management meeting chaired by himself of all the directors in the ministry. We went to that top management committee meeting to defend that bill on 3 good occasions. And to the glory of God, what we defended was not for the benefit of pharmacy profession, but for the citizens of Nigeria. And everybody saw the need for even the Honorable Minister to give up that authority and for the first time and forever, leave it where it ought to be. We need to appreciate what the problems are, what steps have been taken, and where we are as of today. Now, having laid this foundation, we can discuss PPMV because we are now well informed as to why did we run into some of this problem. It's not about laxity. It's not about failure of regulation. It's not about what we call weak regulation. No, it has been about the policy somersault of the government, which of course took leverage from the fact that that law that created the PPMV, if I were to call it, I'm not a lawyer, I will call it a loose legislation. Because when they created that law, they ought to have situated it, refer it to the Pharmacy Council, not to the Honorable Minister. That made it a loose legislation. A law that is having 2 foot. It's on the authority of the Honorable Minister, now delegated to somebody. That's not a good, for me, I'm not a lawyer. I don't draft laws, but I think that is not the best way to draft law. And I think the country must have learned from this process. Now, we can now go about talking about PPMV. The first question is, why are PPMVs talking beyond their limit? I gave a statistics at the neck of PSN. Not until we even had the approval of the head of service way back in 2017, we didn't have an enforcement department, the way Pharmacists Council was structured. And I also gave a statistics that between last year, 2017, ending when that enforcement department came into effect, and as at December, we had closed down about 10,000 PPMVs across various states of the Federation. Not only did I give the statistics, I also spoke about what was done in every state of the Federation, including the fact that we have now stepped up to the level of prosecution. So PCN is being strengthened, PCN is being fortified, and unfortunately, because of the gaps that had existed, you have people who have been in these things who have existed without regulation, who feel that they should continue to be. It's a strong war, but I am confident that collectively we'll overcome it. So that is why you still find some PPMV. Of course, majority of the PPMVs, even as at today that we have over 70,000, I can confidently say that we have more than ×5, if not more, of those that are existing without regulation. So, what do you expect of somebody that is existing without regulation? Not even to talk of few that are even under regulation and are taking advantage of the fact that we are not always, there on day-to-day basis. This is a process that we have to get right. I'm through with that, sir.
Let me add, distinguished colleagues, when Ahmed gave that very brilliant historical review on PPMVL, you probably forgot to tell colleagues, one of the best things that has happened to our profession in recent years is that today you have affirmations from at least 12 federal high courts spread across this country, affirming without any iota of doubt that it is only the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria has a specific approbation in law to regulate and control patent medicine vending in Nigeria. It's never happened. These are specific orders of courts. What has happened with monitoring and control is probably not limited to patent medicine vending. The truth is, even those who categorize themselves as pharmacy premises are not well regulated. The reason is also very simple. There are 2 major pharmacy acts in existence today. the PPA 535 LFN 1990, and the Pharmacists Council Act. Now, if you run through the length and breadth of both legislations, you will discover that both laws do not give specific powers to pharmaceutical inspectors and the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria on some matters of regulation. That was why we had to come up with Gazette 79 and 81 of August 2005. But you see, these things have been taken care of very well in the Envisaged Pharmacy Council Bill. By His grace, that bill will see the light of day. And then you will see a council that can exercise better legal authority. Because specific powers that you had in that gazette will come into the law. They become valid acts of parliament. For instance, it's very clear. Pharmaceutical inspectors will be able to make seizures under the law. Pharmaceutical inspectors will be able to close premises if the need arises. These are things they cannot do now. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it has to do with us directly as practitioners. I have always advocated, if you continue to wait until the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria will do everything for us, we will definitely continue to lament. I always refer to a certain golden era in regulation of practice in Lagos State in particular, when we had the most functional pharmaceutical inspection committee. I think all our state chairmen, we need to go back to the drawing board and perfect our relationship with the police. He was talking about the police. We must draw strength from state police commands directly. You must beat these adversaries. I don't want to mention anybody's name or group. Visit these people, bring them, educate them, advocate on the strength, the powers of the Pharmacists Council. These people do those things, and it is only Acpn that can drive that process. You must dedicate funds. If people are breaking sales, we have local standard as community registered pharmacies to challenge them in court. We must make examples of these people. We must dedicate professional enhancement funds for things like this. There must be a way we must support the inspectorate activities of PCN, because apart from the public interest, there are narrow professional benefits that are derivable. So we must do these things. So I expect that these type of things should be, the model to employ should be worked out at the level of our Acpn NEC and communicated down the line for our active implementation mode.
Thank you, sir.
Malaria.
That foundation, I think we'll be able to go through.
Lock it down.
Others.
Lock down malaria with Lockmal Combi. Lockmal quickly and effectively clears malaria parasites from the body and makes you malaria-free. Lockmal Combi, a brand of artimethyllumethantrine, comes with 12 bonus tablets of Emzor paracetamol. Lockmal, lock down malaria and feel even better.
Pain? Emzor paracetamol. Feel better. Do better.
Regulation. Yes, maybe I'll combine this question with one of the questions in the past about date shifting. Again, we need to appreciate certain things that have happened. First of all, we must establish, how did those markets flourish? They flourished because they had sources where they were getting their drugs from. The sources, I don't need to mention them. They are well known to us. Even to come to this term of ensuring that the NGD take off, it was a difficult task. We got to a point that we had it established. There are some of the things that I don't need to say here. But some of the difficulties When it comes to the issue of feuding parties, I want to assure you that it's not beyond something that can be handled. Because all the powers that be or that matters have been mobilized in this process. In the case of Onitsha, you know that we have the buy-in of the governor. We have the support of Obi of Onitsha. We also have the support of Igwe of Egba. So whatever that is personal shall be dealt with at that level. We know that the delays and postponement has, before now, prior to now, been beyond those people. Some of them had some undertone beyond what we could understand. Not until the Honorable Minister came in and we started from Lagos, we got to realize that there were political interests. There were so many interests that we don't need to talk about here. But having successfully broken down those interests, and the fact that we have had the buy-in of the government, and the fact that government has also agreed to shift that date, not because PCN or not because government was not willing to ensure that it took off as at when it did. I mean, it ought to have. But if you get to know, you rather sympathize with those people. Some of them had paid. You have situations where state government will tell you that we are scared of giving this land because it had political undertone. You have situations where state government will tell you that our interests must be protected. Unfortunately, I think it's a development process of nation building. But as by the special grace of God, we have sat even in the office of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, on the need for federal government to intervene and break those barriers. It was only last year, precisely, last quarter, that the governor of Lagos State wrote to us to give their full backing and ensure that anything that will cross that path, they will be there to fight it. If you know some of the things that has delayed some of these things, it's beyond what we can say here. But on the issue of personal, those that are personal, like the Onitsha case, to us it's no longer personal because you know very well, not only is the governor and the traditional, allocations has been done. We have inspected. We inspected that location, the approved location, together with the Honorable Minister of Health. And the minister on that ground did say, we shall not approve any other location unless and until that. I'm very conversant with the problem of Onitsha. It's purely personal, political. One group is not interested, comfortable with the leadership. But that is not our business. When, by the special grace of God, we were in Kano even 2 months ago, and we saw the rate at which development is going on. Even as 2 days ago, we received report on the effort being, undertaken by the Lagos CWC. Whatever eventually happened to Onitsha, I want to tell you with all sense of humility, sir, that even the powers that be in Anambra State will be behind the federal government to ensure that the right thing is done. And this now brings us to what is the precise date. We have never been political about it. And we must get it right. We must also understand, you see, we many a times have knowledge, but maybe because we don't have insight into details of what happened. This thing was supposed to take off, sometimes in 2012 or so. The fight that it should not take up was not by those people. It was by our professionals. Because we were not comfortable with the structure. We must get this right. We have all the records. Okay, sir. Not until I remember, on the eve of Salah, one day, because I know I am from Niger State, and I needed to go home to meet my family for Salah. I didn't leave office that day until around 12 midnight to be able to meet up with Eid prayers in Mina. I got home 2 a.m. It was a very tough meeting. You need to be there to see that the delays or the shifts has not even been occasioned by this group of people. It's been occasioned by our own colleagues. And you cannot also blame those who have been doing it because they wanted clarity. It's about survival. You don't take off in a situation where you don't know what will happen. Nobody will take that risk. And between 2015 and date, we have been consistent on all the agreements and MOU reached. Not until we began to have some political and other primordial sentiments into the process. I thought you wanted to say something, sir. Okay, sir. Well, so I want us to appreciate why the shift has been there. It has never been occasioned by PCN. And it has never been because we are weak. We cannot do it. We can do it. What will happen? Nothing will happen. All we need is the power of the law enforcement to be there. You can even be in Abuja and give directives. There are structures everywhere. But the shift has never, at any point, been at the instance of the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria. I want us to get that right. Where we are today is December 2020. And we are working, and even if it's going to be in phases.
Give them dates.
Eh?
I think not give them dates.
Okay. Even if at all we are going to move in phases, that will be done. But I can say, if we have opportunity to visit some of those locations, the rate at which development is ongoing, I think is something that we will appreciate.
Okay, let me just give more information. This is a subject matter that is very dear to my heart, because some of these structures we talk about were concretized in my presidency way back in 2014 and 2015. It was at the instance of the pharmaceutical industry, for instance, that we had to come up with compromises here and there in collaboration with relevant stakeholders to come up with a CWC concept. I will be honest with you, colleagues. Want to hear.
Pain? Emzor paracetamol. Feel better. Do better.
When open markets
Malaria?
It might just end up being another date.
Lock it down.
There are few things.
Lock down malaria with Lockmal Combi.
Get right.
Lockmal quickly and effectively clears malaria parasites from the body and makes you malaria free.
The idea was that
Lockmal Combi, a brand of artimethylumepantrin, comes with 12 bonus tablets of Emzor paracetamol. Lockmal, lock down malaria and feel
debilitating pain against the erection of those CWC structures have been largely the state governments in the affected locations. And I give you the example of Lagos. Immediately the first take-off, what's it called?
Check-up date.
The first take-off date was given. The CWC operator in Lagos, what's that their name? City Pharmaceuticals, began work at an extremely fast rate somewhere in Ijora, in Lagos, Ijora Badia. I am aware they had committed over 700 million before the state government hijacked that land from them with the promise to give another site, which did not come until about 2017. What eventually they gave them was not even up to 1/3 of the original sites they had started work. But to make matters very complicated, apart from Lagos, where like I reported, where building plan approval was given last quarter of 2018, no other center has received building plan approval. And there is no how any sensible investor would sink money in the billion range without a building approval, because that was what happened in the first site that was taken over in Lagos. Having given you this information, and I think the Acpn chairman needs to note this, one of the few times I was privy to a serious brainstorming session. Well, it wasn't even a serious one, because it was a chance meeting that I had with the president of PSN at a branch meeting. I had suggested, and those of you who are extremely close to him will help Mr. President. I think the priority of the PSN at this, and these are things PSN, Acpn can do the priority of the PSN must be to probably try to see the vice president who oversees all the governors on the platform of the National Economic Council, such that you will have a formal presentation at the NEC, that's National Economic Council, to seek the buy-in of the state governors so that they can give these building approvals. That's one platform. You also need to attempt to reach these people through the Nigerian Governors Forum. Incidentally, the governor of Ekiti State is chairman of that forum at this point in time. I know that the chairman of Acpn is based in Ondo, and I know that your governor, who you are close to, is one of the best associates of the governor of Ekiti State. You need to work and utilize that channel. I won't say more than that. These are things you don't want to go and put in your communique because there are people who sabotage it the moment you do that. But the appropriate junction where an intervention is needed now is with the governors at state level, so that you can secure those building plan approval. Because without those building plan approval, no CWC will be erected. Nobody will put billions in place for a structure that has no approval. And that's why I said, if we begin to talk about dates, they will just end up, that's why I'm not interested in dates at this moment. I'm interested in putting a realistic structure that would ensure that we have physical CWCs, not the paper CWCs. And I think moving forward, this conference affords the Acpn leadership to put on its thinking cap in actualizing this goal. This is very, very important. As for the, I think you have handled the Onitsha matter well. We can only work with a structure that the Pharmacists Council has given legal teeth to. I think that's the structure where.
Yes, sir.
Ogba. I'm not sure of that location. That's the one you can work with. So there must, let us utilize emotional intelligence as we try to bring down the various hurdles, the various obstacles in our path to progress. And I believe these things will and can and will be done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On the issue of MCPD, I think we need to get some things right. MCPD, as it is run now, is not structured by the PCN registry. It was structured by the governing council. Not only is it structured by the governing council, so we can appreciate it more. This is something that is a concept of the Law and Ethics Committee of the Pharmacists Council. We also need to appreciate that this Law and Ethics Committee is chaired by the President of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. So whatever we have as structure, running as MCPD now, emanated as a concept from the Law and Ethics Committee to the approval of the Governing Council. Whatever we do at PCN registry is implementation, be that as it may. It is also important to state. It's not only in Nigeria that we pay for MCPD. I am currently undertaking MCPD from the United States of America on veterinary pharmacy, and I pay for it because it's about interest. I paid for it. So the fact that somebody paid 15,000, we can't discuss those things, but the fact that somebody paid, it's not a crime. I am assessing veterinary pharmacy now as I'm standing from US, and I'm paying for it. Each module, I pay for it. Let me also state that the fact that you are a professor, with all due respect, does not mean you have all the knowledge. Particularly, you may have all the knowledge you require in that your field of area of specialization. The day I appreciated it most was when the former Minister of State for Health delivered keynote address at the National Council on Health. And everybody was amazed. Nobody could appreciate that statistically, the number of people that die from war globally is just about 0.6%. as compared to 40% of people that die from antimicrobial resistance. These are knowledge that ordinarily you can not easily come across. Even that alone is enough an information for one to put himself strategically to say that I am equipped by this, and to position yourself to see how best you can help the society. I have finished on the MCPD.
Well, when you say not really, I think the straightforward answer is this. Yours truly, seated here, was the last chairman of a PCN Law and Ethics Committee. So I think the volume of revelation being communicated is simply this. The current curriculum or syllabus of the MCPD is the one approved by the Governing Council of PCN in 2014. Of course, it is due for review, but you cannot have that review until you have a formal structure through a new Governing Council that will give approval. So, in the circumstance, what we can do is that, of course, this suggestion, the suggestion by Kola is very valid. We must begin to put those things in writing. You have to put them in writing to the register of the council, these areas of concern, so that by the time you have Pharmacists Council in place, those memos will be brought before the Law and Ethics Committee. And you have been informed, usually, conventionally, it is the president of the PSN. That's why I said I was the last chairman of a functional Law and Ethics Committee of Council. I also need to say this. You know, we took advantage, and I must say that, with the cooperation of the PCN registry. For instance, I think, what's the credit unit? Give for PSN and it's, yeah.
Then technical group 3.
Yeah. For instance, I think we had about 10 credit points earmarked for PSN and its technical groups and some of these conferences Kola talked about. Well, those things need to be worked on properly. The PSN, the technical groups, platforms like WAPCP made reference to, even for FIP, there is a platform to accommodate all of those things. So what we should be doing is to help put a few things on paper to the registry so that when you have Pharmacists Council of Nigeria, Law and Ethics concretizes it and takes it to plenary for formal approval. And it's as simple as that. And I believe that with the quality of PSN representatives that we would have, when a few things are finally resolved with council, we would achieve those things. Does that satisfy you? Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Most of the questions from the third questioner has been taken. The issue of provisions of law. Yes, sir.
Let me answer. There's only one that's not been taken.
Okay, sir.
Tiering, I believe, has been done. The only question from Biola that I think has not been taken, you brought up a very fundamental issue. You brought out a fundamental issue of law. That there are insinuations that every other person who is employed in other brackets or other areas of practice apart from community should be allowed to own premises. I'd like to draw your attention. This is not about emotions. The position of the law that we operate today, and you need to invoke it all the time. Please check the provisions of Part 2, Section 4.1 of Cap 535 LFN 1990. It tells you that the superintendent pharmacist of a pharmacy shall be in personal and direct control of the pharmaceutical premises is superintendent. The implication of that, and that's the principle of one pharmacist to one full job. The moment you are a superintendent pharmacist, you cannot have any other job based on that provision of law. I have heard that even at the level of PSN Council meeting, people have canvassed contrary positions. It's not something you can earn through emotions or sentiments. And, well, I am giving you information within the purview of the law. There are things, there are a few things a Babasheo will not do that I can get away with. Oh yes, and I will say I am bold enough to say that. That is why, even in evolving the concept of satellite pharmacy, we were very careful with the issue of superintending pharmacies. Because the moment you talk of satellite pharmacies that will be under, that will allow people in other cadres of practice to enjoy the status of superintending within the purview of law, it will be contrary to the provisions of the Pharmacy Council Bill. And these are matters of common sense. So these things have been carefully designed in such a way that we would not, there will be no lacuna, no loopholes to exploit by our adversaries. Let us also be very careful, pharmacists. I've had all sorts of arguments. Oh, would you rather other people take over pharmacies and all that? The moment you send a signal, those who are very good students of history, you need to alert the relevant quarters. The moment, the only thing that makes us professionals in this country today is the powers we have to superintend pharmacies. The day you take it away or you water it down through this all-common affair that people are soliciting, then you won't be surprised when they say even medical doctors or nurses can begin to import drugs and superintend them for their own personal needs. Because if a man in hospital or admin pharmacy can do it, then of course those other people too can argue they can do it. Don't forget that there was a previous attempt to do that through a national health policy by Professor Liko Iransokuti. It took the doggedness of the Emafo presidency to stop it in the 90s when Olikoye was Minister of Health. I'm sure you should remember that. And so we have to be very careful when we are evolving policies, when we are coming up with statutes. There are things that cannot stand the test of time within the purview of law. So you cannot come out openly to defend a situation whereby you're saying every pharmacist can superintend. That's balderdash. Even within us, you know that, like he said, some of the biggest obstacles to our progress have always been traditionally pharmacists. Those of us in community practice are aware that it is pharmacists, ownership, for instance, of retail is vested in only pharmacists. You know the people who give us trouble. Who are the people who front for traders and all that? You know that they are pharmacists. So how can you now come up with a policy that says everybody can superintend? There are things we should deal with within the limits of common sense so that we can preserve a heritage for those who will be community pharmacists in future. And I think we need to be very careful.
Thank you, sir. I think I need to clarify the issues discussed at the PSN Council meeting, sir, because I was there and I made contribution. In fact, strong contributions to that deliberation. The concept that is being advocated, it's not the concept, and I think I recall, even the PSN president made mention of that. It's not about somebody in academic opening a pharmacy somewhere and then the pharmacy is existing somewhere. That was not what was being discussed. That was not what was being discussed. What was being discussed was such that if at appropriate time that you are not engaged, we can exploit the avenue of regulation to say that you have a facility where you render service. And even that has to be in locations that are clearly underserved. These are issues, and that was what brought about the issue of satellite pharmacy from day one. It's not about somebody who open pharmacy and then will leave it open. is somewhere and then the pharmacy. I think that was not the issue. And the issue was also clearly demonstrated when the PSN chairman of Casino was trying to make a case that he had a facility. The question was, you were in the hospital and that pharmacy was open. So it ought to be closed. So the concepts are entirely different. It's not about so pretending. Sorry, Madam, do you want to make clarification?
No, nobody is.
Okay.
I think we should make progress. My note of caution, which I want to be a final word on this matter, is pharmacists, let us be very careful about the things we advocate. Nigeria has a peculiar challenge with regulation and control. You cannot be advocating for many more structures or platforms of service without a commensurate regulatory platform that monitors all of these things that you are thinking of. Don't forget, as you sit down here planning progress, there are people who are waiting outside there who are all looking for the loopholes to deal with you. And unfortunately, there is no government that is going to give you money to deal with the quantum or level of regulation that you need. So the fewer the structures, the better for us in terms of management. I do know very well, under the pharmacy bill that we worked on, that the cadres of service provisioning being advocated under that law today will include registered pharmacies with all the multidimensional components of retail, wholesaling, CWC, or mega structures, importation, manufacturing. You have patent medicine vending, you have satellite pharmacy. We will recognize cadres like pharmacy technicians, registered pharmacists, and other support providers in pharmacy. These things are well articulated. There is nothing new we are advocating that cannot fit perfectly under those brackets. And I think at this point in time, our utmost priority must be to get pharmacy bill signed while we look forward to a council that can be well run with people who understand the best tenets in values and ethics, so that we can advance our profession. Thank you.
On the next question has to do with wholesalers doing retail. That's the question from Kaduna. And I want to believe that the person that asked the question is also a member of PIC. And I don't think every of this challenge should be pointed directly at PCN. The deputy president knocked, I recall. I was the first zonal officer of Abuja zonal office when you were head of PIC. Oh. And these were matters that were deliberated, never even, despite the fact that PCN registry is resident in Abuja, there were matters that were never referred to the registry. There were matters that were handled directly by the PIC. So, in that PIC, of course, you have a PCN representative, unless and until you say the PCN representative in that committee is posing a challenge, which you are not comfortable with. Then, you have the right to explain what role that person is playing so that it can be looked into. But it's a collective responsibility. Of course, he does not have the final say. It's a committee, and we all belong to that committee. And I know that we handle several cases. The case of New Health, I remember very well. It even got to a point that they did everything they could to evade regulation. But one day we got there, we saw stethoscope. And we said there is nothing, stethoscope. There is no relationship between a wholesaler and a stethoscope. And that made us to even close that. We didn't even make them do anything. But that was enough a reason for us to, evidence for us to take decisions. So what really have we done at our committee level that has failed, and which of course has been reported to PCN? which of course was not addressed. That is very important. Well, the relationship between Department of Food and Drug Services and PCN, and I think I'll take this together with question 1 and 3. That is the national drug policy that spoke about rural pharmacy. Pharmacist Aminu, you spoke about this extensively, the beauty in national drug policy in one of the platforms. And I think I had opportunity to contribute. And my position still remains what I say in that platform. The fact that policies are developed does not mean that those policies will sufficiently turn the ground upside down. There are usually strategies that are put in place to drive those policies. And unless and until we understand those strategies, we will not be in a position to assess whether those policies are working or they are not even working. Let me give you an instance. And I recall I did mention this on that platform. The first national drug policy was developed in 1990. And the goal of that national drug policy was that it has 3 goals. 1, to make available at all times to the Nigerian citizens drugs that are affordable, effective, and all other words. And to promote rational use of those. And then the third one is to promote local drug production. The strategy was that the national drug policy was to drive, was to drive Nigerian pharmaceutical landscape